Hello. Here I am in my hut with my natural hair. Don't care. Mother Ayahuasca told me that I don't need to have all them braids in my hair. Just be natural. So I did. I took it out. Anyway, so last night was my first ayahuasca experience. Ceremony since I've been here. I'm sorry, my first ayahuasca ceremony since I've been here. And it was intense, but in a different aspect than I expected it to be. So it was more of the purging aspect that was extremely intense. But what I expected or wanted to see was like crazy visions and answers to my questions, and perhaps even see my brother or other relatives that passed. But that didn't really happen yet. I have another ceremony tonight, which is going to be day 2. So I just quickly, before I go into that ceremony, I wanted to express my experience on last night. And what was intense about the purging process is that I felt like I was going through withdrawal. And I've never been through withdrawal because I've never been addicted to anything, but I felt sick. I constantly was going, like I felt like I was like salivating, like I was like drooling all over myself. My stomach was killing me. My body was shaking. And then eventually I vomited. I threw up. I purged like violently, like bleh, like exorcist style. We had this bucket, thank God, and I kind of put a lot in that bucket. But then I felt so much better. And then I laid down on my side. Actually, no, wait. I sat up first. I was sitting up, kind of like leaned up against something. And I was just sitting there. And I kind of started going into a meditation about Greek gods. Like there was this, I consider myself to be Bastet, the Greek cat goddess. So in my meditation, I was like in a palace in Egypt somewhere, and there was this very handsome, dark-skinned, very rich in melatonin cat god. It was a male, but he was also a cat. And he kind of just motivated me to realize my own beauty and appreciate my powers and accept my flaws and not have to change the way I look to feel better. Hence the reason why I took out my braids. But I was just so taken back of how real that conversation was. And I was looking forward to seeing where else that was going to go. However, that didn't happen because something more spectacular just happened, which was, as soon as he was finished speaking, all of a sudden, out of the sky, I kid you not, out of the sky fell almost like a fist-size flower petal. And we're in the dark, mind you, so I can't see anything, but something fell and hit my shoulder. And it fell and hit my shoulder, and then it bounced into my neck, and then it went into my lap. And I felt it, and it was huge. Like, it was like literally fist size. Like, it was pretty big. And it got me out of my experience. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like, we're in a Maloka where the top is covered. There's no windows. Like, where did this come from? And then here I am, like, searching for it in the dark. And the person sitting next to me, Jonathan, which him and I actually happen to get pretty close. We bond very well. We have a great connection. He kind of felt it too. And I looked at him, I'm like, you felt that? He was like, what was that? Like, was it a spider? Like, he just couldn't wrap around his mind like what it was. So we're both, and here he is with his phone, like with the flashlight. We're both looking for it. There's nothing, bro. Like, I mean, like, in my mind, it couldn't wrap around how I couldn't find what it was especially because of the size of it. Like, where could it be? It could not have went far. Like, I felt it hit my lap after it hit my shoulder and my neck. So we're looking all over it. I'm like, that's weird. Like, I'm getting, my intuition is letting me know that you're not going to find it. Like, it was just more of a message in an experience than it was your actual reality. Like, you're not going to find the petal. So I'm like, that's so weird. So whatever. So I decided to go back into my meditation. But of course, I lost the cat god one. So I had to go into I was going into another meditation. This time I decided to like lay down on my side. So I'm laying down on my side like this. And then all of a sudden, this is like 20 minutes later. I was more on this side. 20 minutes later, another rose petal fell. But it was smaller and it hit me right here. And it was smaller, definitely smaller. The first one reminded me of like a rare petal, one that I probably would not find unless I was like in Avatar world. Like, it was like that kind of weird sensation. I felt the softness of the petal. I felt the coolness of it. And for like a split second, I can get a sense of something so fresh, like a flower. So when the second one fell, it was the same thing. I can sense that it was a lot smaller, that it had like 4 leaves, and it was just a petal. It wasn't like, the first one was like a petal inside of like a leaf, and it was attached to the vine still. This one was just the petal, and I looked up and I'm like, Jonathan. And he looks at me, I'm like, it happens again. And then we're both looking for it. And he's like, that's so weird. And I'm like, oh my God, like, it has to be here. Nothing. So I'm like, he's like, what do you think it is? I'm like, I don't think it's really happening. I think it's like part of my experience. So I thought that was very interesting. I could not wait to tell Don Lucho or to tell the interpreter so I can find out what the heck it meant. So anyway, after that experience, I went back into another stomach ache, and then almost instantly I threw it up and I was fine. Then I felt a strong urge to doo-doo. So I got my ass up, and it's very hard to walk on ayahuasca, so I asked someone to help me. And I felt so like lethargic. I felt so out of it, and I just was calling her. Like, it took me everything to call her name, which is Carolina. I was like, Carolina. Like, I was just so out of it, and she didn't hear me the first time, and I'm like, fuck my life. Carolina. Like, I was just a mess. Like, I just felt horrible, but I knew that it was my body detoxing parasites and bad energy and any sicknesses that I had. Like, I instantly knew that it was what I needed. So I wasn't really like, oh my God, why do I feel like this? I was just like, fine, this is how I feel. I know I need to go through this process, but fuck, it sucks. Anyway, she finally came, and I went to the bathroom, and I violently got rid of everything else. Like, it was just like, I'm sorry for the visual, but it is what it is. A lot. Just, it kept on going, like almost like I was peeing. It literally sounded like I was peeing, but I wasn't peeing. I was shitting, and it just came all out. It felt great. I went back to my mat, and then I just started like, just after that, just going to like a slight marijuana kind of meditation, like maybe a little bit more tense than marijuana, but definitely not an ayahuasca vision when you have an intense one. So fast forward to the next morning, which was this morning, when we were in group and we expressed our own experiences. The shaman basically told me that with everything that I said, probably a little bit more that I am saying in the video, I probably skipped a thing or two, but he got the fact that I needed to have more patience. Like, I'm trying to rush an experience, and I need to have like more compassion and patience. And the way he explained it, it really hit to me. Like, it really spoke to me, because then I was able to admit, like, you know what? I do need to have more patience. Like, I know that. So maybe if I do have more patience, it will benefit me, and I'll be able to see what I need to see. And then later on, I really kind of wanted to know about the flowers, but they were just like, be patient and you'll know. So I was like, okay, fine. So then later on, we were hanging out by the lagoon, and one of the girls asked me, she's actually been here for quite a few. She has a little bit more experience. This is like her 5th ayahuasca retreat. So it's not her 5th ceremony. It's like her 5th time doing a whole week of ayahuasca. So she asked me how my experience was. And I was like, oh my God, like rose petals fell on me. And she's like, that happened to me too. And I was like, it did? I was like, do you know what it means? And she said, yeah. Don't tell me. She said, it means like you're about to get a whole bunch of knowledge about the universe, about the nature, about yourself, about your innate powers. Like you're just gonna get so much. Like you're opening yourself up, and the process that you had last night was necessary for the process you're gonna go through tonight. And that definitely made me feel more confident, because my dreams, my angel numbers, and my tarot card readings are all telling me that I'm about to come across a crazy amount of knowledge and information and stuff like that. So I'm waiting for it to come. Like, I'm waiting. So that was pretty much my experience. Although I wish I would have had another experience, like more intense, more vision, more answers, I am learning to be grateful for the experience that I did have, and being able to appreciate that my body is actually purging and taking very well to the medicine and getting rid of all this shit that I need to get rid of. So that was my experience. Stay tuned for the second one, which is taking place tonight. So I would love to see how different my experience is going to be tonight than it was last night. But make sure you share my video. Make sure you share my video. Some people believe the rainforest accumulates so much rain because it's Mother Nature taking care of the plants, and the plants take care of us. It literally rains every hour, just for a few minutes. But it's so comforting knowing the love in the nature that comes from the universe that is being provided for us. When you recognize that, when you accept that, you learn how to shift your love in a more nurturing way towards you and everybody else.